Welcome to my channel, everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about when you get a new Grand National to you. So what's happening lately a lot is, these cars have gained in value. People are finding them that they have been sitting for a while, and you're urged to buy it and do a burnout or donuts or really mash on the pedal should be resisted, because you can do some serious damage. So beyond the regular checks of the fluids, okay, most people know to check the oil on the transmission and the antifreeze and stuff. You need to go a little bit beyond. And one thing while we're under the hood that is a concern is the PowerMaster brake system. So this was 2-year only. It was also in another station wagon, I believe the Electra Estate wagons, and they had recalls back in 1988. So what it is at the bottom there, you have an electric motor. By the way, that's a that nest, I believe that's a Black Widow nest, so also something to look for when you get a new car. But that's a motor down there, and it pressurizes the fluid in this cylinder. This is an accumulator, but long story short, it's not very reliable. It actually is responsible for several scary moments in people's lives, and even some collisions. I personally almost crashed through the back of the garage wall one time when it fails, because it fails sometimes without notice. Other time it'll give you a light. So what's the alternative? So this is the alternative, to swap it over to a vacuum system. This is not very hard to do. They're all off the parts shelves, and it's using it from the same auto line, Regal, Cutlass, Monte Carlo, Grand Prix, El Camino, the Sentry, the Bonneville, all that stuff. So this is all available. What makes it a lot easier is if you get the pedal from the same car. But we can discuss more about that. I'll do a separate video on the PowerMaster to vacuum brake conversion, because that's what I plan on doing on this car that I just got. Okay, so back to this car. I had to put a fresh battery in, and the old battery had a 2019 date on it, and it was dead. So I can assume, let's just assume it was sitting for 4 years or whatnot. We'll just do a little walk around. These fillers, these are fiberglass, so they're, we got some mud I splashed on there, and then the non-existent rear fillers. But this does reveal a nice thing through the fillers. Let's see. I'll turn the light on here. It has a hot wire kit. You see that relay? So that's delivering full 12 volts to the rear pump. And then I'll be as bold as to assume that the pump is upgraded. But that doesn't mean you're okay to go doing burnouts and donuts and stuff like that. I've been fortunate enough that this car came equipped with a ScanMaster and some full gauges. I would highly encourage you, before you're doing any of that stuff, especially the ScanMaster, and we'll see what that looks like. So, and that connects right to your computer, and it's going to give you updated information. Now, that effect you see on the camera is not picked up by your eye, but you can scroll through several things in here. Let's see. Got my that button on the, it's hard to see. There you go. The button on the left. Okay, so put the car up in the air, and we're gonna look at a few things to check. Just addressing the tires. Cars that have been sitting for a while might have flat spots. You want to check that you don't have very old tires. There's date codes on these and stuff, but check for dry rottedness. Just for an example, this car has comp TAs, and those were discontinued like 25 years ago, so those are definitely no good. So we're gonna do an oil change, but before we do that, we'll just go down, look at the frame. This rust looks worse on the camera, but you can see this rubs right off. That's not real rust. Looking at the floor pans, they're really nice. The floors. Let's look at the transmission. Okay. That's what we want to see. BRF. The mount is in all right shape. Okay, going down. Got our fuel filter. Not sure if that's ever been addressed, but we'll see. Go back to the frame over here. This is a high rust area. So these, especially northern cars or northern cars that were driven in the weather, these rot out really bad. Also right here, all the rockers up in here. So you should check this stuff before you bought the car, but there's another high rust area, the rockers. You got to look for dirty tricks. I've heard of duct tape being put over the problem, and then Bondo. So this one I'm happy with. But let's go back to I noticed the Power Master. See, there's some wetness, and the wetness is, let's see, focus. That is the bottom of the Power Master motor, so something's definitely leaking up there. And like I said, that'll be addressed. I intend on doing a conversion. So up front, all these frame rails are straight. Up here, just looking for anything out of the ordinary. You got your typical leak, and that's most likely from the turbo drain right up there. Okay, that could be tightened. It probably needs to be taken apart and put a gasket in there. Alright, so I'm going to drain the oil, and we'll look at that real quick. Okay, this plug is a 9/16 or 14 millimeter, kind of, they're very close. This one was super tight, so when I drain, we're looking for like glittery metal. Okay, if you see a little bit of milky, that could be coolant or moisture. Got a lot of bubbles. Okay. The dipstick was pretty full when I got it, and then so this had a little gasket on there. And then we had our little shorty filter, and I'm gonna be replacing this with the extended, the PF52. But so stuff looks clean, but you could see right there that blue, that's Felpro stuff. So somebody's been in here. But there's a lot of stuff that's factory, that's nice, that plastic conduit that brings the wire across. You got big giant starter, but there's a patch for the transmission cooler lines. Okay, now those might have been changed. And then we'll take another look under this torque converter cover. Okay, so this is what we got. That's not stock, or not stock looking. It's some kind of aftermarket. I got some numbers there, I'm not sure, but so it might have been gone through, which is, I mean, no surprise. These transmissions didn't last very long back in the day. I know I had a GN back in '92, and it wore out twice. So got a little bit of moisture back here. Might be that tail shaft seal. That's a not hard fix. All right, so look at your brakes. So, and the other thing I want to look at was the drums here. Those look like iron, cast iron. And then the back bumper, this is steel, so not aluminum, as well as the front one too. So these are commonly changed out because they're very heavy, but they offer a little bit more protection. But see, we got our front mount. That's obviously not stock. It looks kind of like a new addition. So yeah, the giveaway when you were looking here should have told you that the intercooler was missing. So okay, so we'll finish with our oil change. I'm gonna degrease this torque converter cover and put it down. Oh, one quick thing before I have it down is so this was a copper gasket that was on there, and I like to switch them out for this metal urethane one to go back on there, so it gives a nice a nice seal, and you don't really gotta wrench it down super hard. Whoever tightened this one before was just kind of over the top. Okay, continuing on with our inspection of things that you're gonna get familiar with. Let's say when you get your new to you Grand National, headers are a common item. These are stock. The stock headers are actually very good design. They're hard to duplicate. The aftermarket is catching up, but there were a lot out there that didn't do so well. But there is a problem on the driver's side. Let's see if you're gonna focus for me. All right. See, so that's this hose is messing up the focus, but you can see that's been welded, or barely, and that's where they typically crack, but they'll weld up nice. This is aftermarket. This is a great upgrade. The mass airflow translator has new harness for the injectors. Not sure which ones. This also has, I think that's the volt booster. So that setup is not typical to the Buick. This is an aftermarket turbo. the factory one, and this is an aftermarket downpipe. This is all great upgrades though. Also, this heater valve, this is an aftermarket heater valve. The original one was metal. These breathers, of course. We really don't know. I don't know until I pull a valve cover if this is a roller cam, because then I could sneak a look through one of the push rod holes. But I could tell this doesn't have like roller rockers because they don't fit under a stock valve cover. And these are stock valve covers. So this also had the oil cooler deleted. So the oil cooler went into the radiator, and as you can see, this one is an aftermarket with the factory fan setup. So okay, and then your under hood pad, these are nice to have. They also get destroyed. Here's a little bit of something going on here. I had a belt break one time over the alternator, and it tore a hole in it. These are available, but they're very expensive, and usually shipping is not a good option. Not only because the shipping's expensive, but you know, these shipping companies will bend that thing in half and then drop it at your door and leave. Okay, for our last item we're going to check, we're going to locate this plug by the battery and unplug it. That goes to our ECM, and we'll go inside, and what we're going to do is we're going to determine what chip our car had. So okay, so this slides right out of this plastic thing. These are 1/4 inch, they're not metric, and pop up, and I can see right away that's a good sign. That TT on there stands for turbo tweak, and that's a modern chip, very well known chip maker for many years. So we're gonna pry this up and see. It's a two-handed operation, so let me get that up. Okay, so there we have the Turbo Tweak 5.7 60-pound injectors with alcohol, 22 to 20 degrees timing with 25 psi. So already I have a problem. Okay, if I was to get on this really hard, there's no alcohol in this car. Okay, the alcohol must have been removed at some point. I don't see any sign of it, although there was a hint I'll show you when we get back under the hood. Okay, this was my hint that there was alcohol here before, was because this is the coolant reservoir bottle, and that is not the coolant reservoir bottle from the factory. The reservoir used to go here for the alcohol, and they would use this, and then the alcohol was delivered to the pipe here. Now there's no hole or anything that's been put and patched, so I'm assuming they eliminated the alcohol kit when they put in the front mount. So yes, that is just good proof that you need to check stuff before you really get on it, because if you went full throttle with this thing at its current state, and if I didn't check the chip, you would have definitely been doing head gaskets. Okay, so I know you got a car and you want to go enjoy it, but just cruise it around until you get stuff sorted out. Same thing, like I'll mention for the third time, that brake system there is ticking time bomb. I know some people love them for originality, but you know, you could take that out and clean it up and put it in a glass case if you want, but you know, it's better to be safe than original. No one sees that when you're driving down the road. Now if you're at the show like I said, you could take that, mount it out of your glass case and put it out if you love it that much. So enough of the sarcasm, but it's really should be at one of the top of your to-do lists. Now with Turbo Tweak, they have a website, and you could just order that same chip minus the alcohol. So you would just copy that information. They have a page. They'll also, that's why to pull your torque converter cover, they're going to ask you what kind of torque converter. The cam is unknown to me, so I don't know. When I order a cam, I'm going to have to kind of guess. So that's about it. I appreciate you watching. I hope this helps. If you have any questions or comments, please add to the conversation. It helps everybody. So have a great day. Okay, I just wanted to give a little more expanded info on some of the things you might see. So that chip is the factory chip. There was two different factory chips. There's one from the production, and then they had like a recall where they changed the chip. This one's a Pit Bull from 1990, and this was a great chip back in the day, but it'll blow your car up now. This one is like a mid 2000s, early 2000s chip, still considered, unless you know what you got. There's not a lot of detail on here either. So the rule of thumb is your chip needs to be matched to your combination. Okay, so I hope that helps, and no problem if you need to reach out for more information, do so. Thanks for watching.